Hello, and welcome back to the podcast where you are invited for lighthearted conversations about things that matter as you seek to live your most meaningful, beautiful, and joyful life. I'm your host, Dr. Edie Wadsworth, and I hope you enjoy your stay here at the House of Joy.
Hey guys, I'm popping in really quick to tell you about how special this episode is that you're about to listen to. This is actually a October teaching from 2023 from my mom's program, Life Mentoring School. It is so good. I just listened to it. If you have ever struggled with your past self, or just being stuck in your past behaviors, anything like that, you're going to love this episode. It's so freeing. It's such a good listen. I couldn't recommend it enough. I'm so excited for you to hear it. If you've ever wondered what it's like to be in her program, Life Mentoring School, this is a great little taste of what it's like to be a part of a live teaching call. And I just know you're going to love it so much. So I will quit yapping and let you get into the episode. You're going to love it.
If you feel like there's part of you that just has a hard time letting go of the past, you have a hard time letting go of who you've been in the past, you have a hard time of letting other people go from who they've been in the past, a hard time forgiving, a hard time moving on, a hard time redefining yourself in a way that you want to redefine yourself. There are so many different ways that we can get stuck in the past. And we have done lots of different teachings on this over the years. This is honestly probably, I say this about so many things, but it's really one of the most powerful concepts that we teach, I think. And so I'm excited to dive into it today. And I just want you to be really willing to open up your heart, open up your mind, and really be willing to hear it with the humility to receive it. So one of the reasons that this is my favorite teaching, one of the reasons that, when we started Life Mentoring School 4 years ago, by the way, this was the first teaching. This was the first month, is getting over your past. And it was the first topic because it's the topic that broke everything open for me in my own life, because I had a past that I used to think was really unfortunate and difficult and unfair. And once I used coaching tools to move past my past, I thought to myself, there's no thing that this can't help. If it can help me get past my past, there is nothing that this can't help me do. And honestly, you guys, over the years, I feel like as I cycle through this, and you'll notice that the Life Mentoring School curriculum is cyclical. And it's cyclical because we need to keep coming back to it. So every time I come back to this teaching, it's a little bit less for me getting over your past and a little bit more for me, like really envisioning and living into my future. So if you're here today and you're like, oh my gosh, I am so stuck in my past. I'm so stuck in past behaviors. I'm so stuck in past patterns. I'm so stuck in, who I've always been. That's where we all start. If you've been doing this a while, tell me in the chat, by the way, how long you've been in Life Mentoring School, because I would love to know what mix do we have with us today? Because there's a lot of you that have been here a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. And I promise you that if this is your 3rd or 4th year going through this, you're going to find this even more exciting, because you're going to see how, like, oh my gosh, the first time I went through this particular curriculum, I was not ready to let go of some things. And you'll find that as you keep being courageous enough to look at your life with honesty, you'll keep seeing areas that you need to let go of, that you need to have some grace for yourself and just decide, I will not punish myself with that story anymore. So one of the things that I learned when I was learning about my past and how to get past my past, one of my coaches said something so transformational. I will never forget it. She said, your past happened to you one time, whatever that event was, but you keep punishing yourself with it over and over and over again. You keep retelling the story. You keep creating the suffering. You keep punishing yourself with the story. And I was like, first I was a little offended. I'm like, what do you mean I'm punishing myself with the story? And then I realized that's exactly what I was doing. Is I was punishing myself with a story. And I was so steeped in my story that I thought, well, how can you get over something that actually did happen? This is not just a story I told myself. This is something that actually happened. But turns out it doesn't matter if it actually happened. It doesn't matter if what you keep thinking over and over again is true and can be proven in a court of law. What matters is, what do you decide to do about it now? Do you want to keep living from that story? Do you want to keep letting that past define you? Or do you want to move on to your bright, incredible, hopeful future? And when I realized that that was a choice, that I get to move on from that story, every single thing changed for me. And I seriously found the most incredible freedom. And so much so that it's really difficult for, like, I used to feel like before I moved past my past, I used to feel like, I guess I'm just going to always feel this way. I guess life is just going to feel heavy and my story is going to feel heavy and I'm going to carry it around with me in a backpack and it has to go with me everywhere I go. Of course it does, because it's true, right? And when I realized that I could lay that down, and that once I lay that down, I have the freedom to run my race. I have the freedom to live my life unencumbered by that story, in full joy, in full passion for what I want to create. When I let that down, the crazy thing is not that I don't get to carry burdens anymore, because I do carry some burdens, but I get to help other people carry their burdens. I'm not so weighted down with my own that I can't lend a hand, that I can't see someone else in their suffering, that I can't help someone else carry their burdens. And then the freedom that that has given me in my life has been just like the greatest gift. So I know it's possible. And I also know that once you begin using these tools, you'll see that it applies to so many areas of your life. The other thing that I learned back when I was learning about this is that who you are is like set in stone. This is my personality. This is what happened to me in the past. This is how I am. This is how I show up in the world. And what I learned was, no, that is just a learned set of behaviors, a learned set of thoughts, feelings, actions tied together. So when I say that, when I say it's a string of thoughts, feelings, actions, what do you first think of? All of you LMSers who've been here a long time. That who you are is just a set of thoughts, feelings, and actions. What does that remind you of? Yes, Diana, that's the creation cycle. So today we're going to use the creation cycle to create your beautiful, bright, amazing future, because you have used the creation cycle to create where you are today. It's just a set of thoughts, feelings, and actions. And so if you want to change who you are, what do you have to change? It's not that complicated, right? You have to change your thoughts, feelings, actions, and you can approach it from any aspect. Now, our program is sort of heavily weighted toward changing your thoughts first. But today, I'm going to teach you about entering the cycle from all different ways, because thoughts, I think, are often the most powerful way. That's how I first learned how to do it. But I'm currently in a living into my bright future in a sort of reinvention of my own that I have gotten to by in the physical realm. And so we're going to talk about all three of those today. But I just want you to know that most of what you are is just a repeated set of thoughts, feelings, and actions. And we repeat those so long that it becomes who we are. It becomes like we think it's just set in stone. We think it is just like, oh, this is just the way I am. But over the last 10 or 15 years, I have watched myself change into someone that I didn't recognize as myself. And so, yes, Carrie Hunt, personality is not permanent. So, who you are, the result that you have in your life right now. So, I want you to tell me. We talked about this a little bit in Live Your Purpose, but I want you to tell me the main thought you have right now about your life, and as it relates to past and future. Are you mostly living from your past? Are you excited about your future? Are you're not sure? So when you think about this, so much of who you currently are, of the results that you're getting in your life right now, are because of how you've been thinking, feeling, and acting over and over and over again. The things that you put on autopilot. 95%, they say in neuroscience that 95% of who we are as adults is just a memorized, automated set of behaviors that run in our subconscious mind without our awareness or permission. So much of who we are is subconscious. We're not aware of it. And when you start to bring that into awareness, then you can change it. So a lot of what we learn in the first month, 3 months, 6 months of Life Mentoring School is how to bring it into awareness. Use your planner, your journal to bring it into awareness. And you go, oh, I didn't even realize that I was just creating that over and over again. I just assumed that's how it had to be. And so many of us do that. But the facts of your life, like what has happened in your past, what is currently happening in your life, is a very small part of the way you experience your life. Because if you just take what happens, that doesn't take into account how you react to what happens, how you choose to see what happens, how you choose to show up to your life, no matter what happens or has happened. And you have the power to change that anytime you want. And so instead of believing like this is who I am, I want you to start dreaming about future you.
Hey guys, it's Emmy, and I'm popping in to tell you about the sponsor of today's episode, Cozy Earth. I actually just got back from my parents' house. I stayed in their guest bedroom, which they have the Cozy Earth sheets on, and I had the best night's sleep of my life. I immediately came home and put them on my wedding registry. They are made from viscose from bamboo, and they feel buttery soft. They're temperature regulating, and I'm not kidding, I slept several degrees cooler. And don't even get me started on the pajamas. I live in them. They feel like luxury. I almost sleep in them every single night. And if there's one thing I tell you to upgrade in your home, it's your sheets and your PJs. The best part, you get to try them risk-free with a 100-night sleep trial and a 10-year warranty. Yeah, 10 years. So go to CozyEarth.com and use my code HOJ for up to 20% off. And if you get a survey at the end, let them know that House of Joy sent you. Because home isn't just where you live, it's how you feel. Let's go home with Cozy Earth.
I want you to start dreaming about you that's unencumbered by what happened in the past. You that isn't holding on to old resentments. The you that doesn't believe that this personality, who you are, is set in stone. The you that still believes in change and progress, that is so hopeful for the future. Because I think a lot of times what we do is when we think about the future, now I love dreaming about the future, but sometimes I think we can think about it as so far off that we're not even hopeful about it. I want you to ask yourself, what do you want in 90 days? What does future you look like in 90 days? What does future you look like 6 months from now? And when I think about this, I don't necessarily, a lot of people will say like, oh, here's what I want to have. And they name these like outward things. I'm often thinking of how much more resilient can I be? How much more loving and nurturing and patient and passionate and skilled can I be? Yes, Deborah, how much healthier can I be? I mean, I'm on a health journey right now, you guys, and I am learning so much about myself. And I've been on a health journey for like 12 years, and how I'm learning so much right now, I can't even believe it. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I want you to ask yourself, have you even thought about it? Have you even dreamed about who you could be in 30 days, 90 days, 6 months, a year? I have had people say this to me my whole entire life. And I used to like kind of get offended by it, but now I'm like, good. People would say, man, you've really changed a lot. Good. We are not meant to stay the same. We are creatures that God made to strive for more, to challenge ourselves. We feel most alive when we're doing that. And to be honest, when I have read lots of books on creating your future self. The last one I read, I think, was by Benjamin. What's his name? Aline might remember. I think I told you guys. I don't know. Yeah, Benjamin Hardy. Thank you, Sally. The last book I read on it, that I read the full book on it, was Benjamin Hardy. It's a really good book. I think it's called Be Your Future Self Now. But as I have studied future self over the last few years, what I have realized is that the more you believe in your bright future, the more you believe that your best days aren't behind you, the more you believe that you still have more to contribute, the more you believe that you could be healthier than you've ever been, that you could be more fit than you've ever been. Like those hopeful thoughts, the more time you spend believing that and working toward that, the more enjoyable your life is today. So a lot of times we're like, well, that seems, frivolous or unreasonable that I would dream about the future. No, you create a better today for yourself when you do that. So ask yourself, what does your future self look like? How does she show up? How does she respond in the world? How mentally resilient is she? Does she have such a strong, powerful mindset that's hard to shake? Is she emotionally resilient? Is she willing to feel any emotion? Does she know how to generate the emotions of love and joy and peace and passion, excitement, inspiration? Does she know how to move through life and face obstacles with courage? Does she know how to create connection in her relationships? Does she know who she is in God's eyes? Does she have this sort of powerful, strong identity? And she makes a way for other women to know who they are because she's so powerful in the way she shows up. Does she have nourishing habits that create time and money and resources? I just want you to ask yourself, like, what does future you look like? How long do you spend becoming her, thinking about her, asking, what will it take to get to this next version of myself? Now, I promised you we were going to approach this from 3 different ways, from mind, emotions, and body. So let's start with mind. Now, we talk about this in Life Mentoring School more than anything else, I would say, is how to cultivate a strong mindset, how to build belief, how to recognize and be aware when you're believing something that isn't serving you. So I want you to ask yourself right now, and I want you to just be really honest. If I have a limiting belief, what is it? So I want you to tell me in the chat, those of you who are courageous enough to share with us, if you have a limiting belief right now, what is it? What is your limiting belief that you really want to renew? That you have believed this about yourself in the past. You've always been this kind of person, but you are ready to change that. Why can't I do it? I'll never be good enough. I'm too much. Yes. See, thank you for your honesty. I'll never change. Yep. I've always been this way. I don't know what to do next. I can't do it. I'm unworthy. I never finish what I start. Yes. And when you confront those limiting beliefs, and because here's the thing, those beliefs are optional. You get to decide. Now, you can't stop that thought from coming into your mind, but you can start to become aware of it and take responsibility for it. You can become aware of the thoughts, those limiting beliefs, those thoughts that you've had in the past, the way you've always been. I've never been able to change this. And you can start to change it. And you do that in a variety of ways. And the way you do it isn't necessarily that important because it's a little bit different for everybody. But we can share in the chat some ways that you've done it. We set our whole program up to help you do this. So if you fill out your planner, you're doing this all the time. You're filling out creation cycles, the ones that just come in your mind that you don't want, the ones that you're trying to believe, that you're working on believing, that you're saying every day, the thoughts you're wanting to practice. So even if you just do the planner and nothing else, you will start to see 30, 60, 90 days from now, you will start to see change. Just go into our LMS Facebook group and look at those 30, 60, and 90-day evaluations, and people, it will blow you away. It will blow you away the changes and shifts people make in short periods of time by committing to this work. And listen, I really do believe that we have an enemy that does not want us to be living in our full responsibility, in our full power, in our full commitment to being the most strong, resilient, loving people we can be. And I view this work as like, this is how I stand up to the darkness in the world. Somebody said, like, I'm so glad I'm here because I was in such a dark place. This is how we stand up to the darkness inside of us that keeps wanting to overtake us. And working on these beliefs is of utmost importance, y'all. And committing to doing the work every day where you become aware of your thoughts and you decide on purpose that this is the truth. This is what I commit myself to believing, even though my brain doesn't want to believe it. And you practice it over and over. One of the most powerful ways that I do this is through guided meditation. Now, I don't know if I'm going to share this amazing surprise that I have for you, but we have something coming in November that is really going to help you with this. But we do have, and maybe I can have Angela find it and put it in here. We do have one really good guided meditation. I also use the app called BrainTap. And there's a meditation in there called Ask, Believe, Receive. I love guided meditation as I'm going to sleep, as I'm waking up. It's basically like a prayer if you find the right one. And that way it gets in your mind. You just hear those words, you receive those words. So to me, that has been very helpful because, you guys, the limiting beliefs, the subconscious programming that I have lived with for my whole life was so not good that it has taken so much work and commitment to this process to rewrite it. But I promise you it's possible. And I can tell you that today, I mean, it is something else. I feel like I have such a strong, powerful mindset now. It's very difficult to pull me into unbelief, to pull me into doubt, to pull me into scarcity, because I have practiced this for so long. So that is a really powerful way that I have been able to work on the mindset piece. Remember that every time you think a thought, your body makes a molecule. Are you hearing me? Every time you think a thought, your body responds with a molecule to match. So the reason we often wake up in the morning and just feel bad is because our bodies are so conditioned to the negative thinking that with just a little hint of that, our bodies will make it. And to be honest, that cocktail that you make all the time, that you have sort of trained yourself, especially if you've been living in your past, maybe it's unforgiveness, maybe it's resentment, maybe it's bitterness, maybe it's disappointment, maybe it's frustration, maybe it's anxiety, maybe it's stress. For me, one of my constant emotions that I just made all the time was stress. And when you constantly make stress, you will just find thoughts to match it. So I would just wake up and my body would feel stressed. So then I would just find thoughts to match that. So you think a thought, make a molecule, or you make a molecule, think a thought. Either way, they're going to match up. So you have to ask yourself, am I willing to do the work required to retrain this, to reprogram that subconscious program that has us feeling in a way we don't love, thinking in a way we don't love, and then from that, obviously acting in a way that we don't love. And when you don't interrupt this cycle, you will just, for the rest of your life, recreate what you've been creating. And I don't want to do that. Even as much renewing of my mind and transformation as I've had, I want to just keep making it better. I want to keep experiencing life in a richer way, in a deeper way, in a more loving way. And so I don't want to be who I am right now, a year from now. How can I go deeper with the work? So ask yourself, am I committed to this? Am I committed to really renewing my mind and taking every thought captive and asking myself, what am I creating with this? You will get so much insight about what you're creating in your physical body, so much insight about the emotions that you habituate, the emotions that you just create. You don't even know why. And then your mind is like, well, I can match that. I can match that terrible emotion with a lot of terrible thoughts. Can I get an amen? If lots of you have been in cycles like this, where you're like, man, I don't understand it. I just keep doing this and I just keep making this and I just keep making it over and over and over again. Well, we are going to stop that cycle. And in order to do that, it's going to take some commitment on your part. It's going to take some commitment to being willing to be aware of what you're doing, to stay aware. We talk about this a lot, and I think people do. I think we talked about this on the last coaching call, is being willing to stay connected to ourselves through change like this. Because the reason that we so often go unconscious and eat what we don't want and buy things we don't want and scroll like we don't want is because that's easier than staying connected to ourselves in these negative cycles. But we have to stay connected enough to start recognizing the cycles. Like, oh, I see why I reach for that. I see why I feel so miserable. I see why I keep creating this stress cycle. I see why I keep creating this bitterness cycle. And if we're willing to be really honest with ourselves, this awareness comes fast. Now, I feel like the change for a lot of people can take some time, but it can also be fast. And I just often ask myself, like this last thing that I've been going through, I'm like, I just want to be so willing to accept the truth and to make the changes that I need to make without resistance. Because we put up a lot of resistance. Our mind puts up a lot of resistance. Your mind, when you start doing this work and you start making true change, your mind will go, well, who do you think you are to be doing that? You're just a blah, 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 who never will, right? And there will be so much resistance to it. And the reason there's so much resistance is because it's so much easier. It saves a lot of energy for your body to just stay in the pattern that it's been in. But it is worth all the effort, all the work, all the mindfulness, all the awareness that you bring to making this change. And this work is so, so powerful. So as your mind opens up and becomes aware, I want you to notice the resistance and just be compassionate for yourself. Just be willing to release the resistance. The other thing, besides the mindset tools, and there's lots of those, creation cycle is a powerful one. I even often like to have used glasses a lot of times, where it's just the lens through which you see things. Just decide to see things through the lens of, this is all working out in my favor. See things through the lens of, everywhere I look, I see miracles. And when you change the lens through which you see, what will happen is, from those new nourishing thoughts, you will start to create something different internally. And when you start to create something different internally, man, things change fast. because that emotional power, there's nothing like it. And you know this is true. You know this is true. There's nothing like the emotional power when you get that thinking to align with that emotion. Because for a lot of times when we're first trying to change our thoughts, it doesn't feel like the thought or the belief is activated in our bodies. But when we practice it long enough so that it activates in our bodies, it's like pouring gasoline on the fire. Because when you get your emotions in line with your beliefs, and it won't take long to do that, it just starts to expedite the process. Everything goes faster. You start to really feel what it's like to change. You feel what it's like to see the world differently. You feel what it's like to let go of the resistance, to be willing to be transformed. And so this emotional piece is so, so important. And the first step to that, obviously, is to just be aware of the emotional state you're in. So tell me right now in the chat, no judgment here, you guys. You could be excellent at doing this work, and your emotional state right at this minute could be not great. So I want you to tell me, what is your predominant emotional state right now or over the last day? Are you mostly stressed? Are you mostly overwhelmed? Are you mostly frustrated? Are you mostly hopeful? Are you mostly fearful? Worried? Mostly sad? Mostly stressed? I feel frenzied. Yes. Now, for all the world, because I'm a human too, it feels like that's not an option. Right? Doesn't it feel like that's not an option? Well, the reason that I'm that way is because, and we have 1,000 reasons. It feels like it's not optional, but I want you to ask yourself, what if this current emotional state is optional? Just let your brain toy with that. What if it is optional? What would my day be like if I decided to shift my emotional state? What would my evening tonight be like if I decided to shift my emotional state? And I promise you, it's so possible. I love that, Lori. She said, just the what if brings relief, right? I know. And we think it's not possible, but it is. For instance, if I told you, you have, one more day to spend with the people you love, and I didn't tell you the reason, you have one more day to spend with the people you love, would that shift it? Yes or no in the chat? You have one more day to spend with the people you love. How would it change how you spend your evening tonight? See how fast you can shift it. I promise you. We think all of this is written in stone. We think, no, I have to be stressed right now because you don't know what's going on in my life. No, I know, because all of the same stuff is going on in mine. But what if you just decided that I can cause the shift by how I decide to see the world, by what I decide to believe, by how I want to create a different experience in my life? Because honestly, going from past self to future self requires that something in you be different. And I often like to think of, it's not just my thinking that's different. No, something in me, physically in me, is different. And so how am I going to do that? If I had to do that tonight, if I had to cause a shift in myself tonight, I could do that by saying, I'm just going to go through the night as if this was the last night I could spend with the people I love. And how would it change me? How would it shift how I enjoy the people that I'm with, what I would choose to do tonight, how I would experience my life, how I would experience the people in my life. And when you do that, you do change internally what's going on in your body. You feel a different set of emotions. Whoever said epigenetics, let me give you a big old smooch because yes, it turns on different genes in your body. Your body starts expressing differently, different emotions. It creates different chemicals. Those chemicals cause a reaction in your genetics. Like everything changes. And so you've got this way of shifting your mind. You've got this way of shifting your emotions that's so powerful. We don't use it nearly enough. And then we've got this way of shifting ourselves physically. So ask yourself, let me ask you this. How can you be different, your future you, a day from now, 2 days from now, 30 days from now? So here's what is interesting as part of my journey this past little bit. Lots of you know that I've been struggling with some physical stuff. And it's very humbling because I'm like, the guru of natural health, and I've been seeing a natural health person, and we just haven't been able to get to the bottom of it quite and figure it out. And so part of this led to a bunch of blood work that led to me going off dairy. So I am quite addicted to dairy. People have suggested dairy to me like years, like, oh, and I have gone like brief stints of like, dairy, but not very long. And I didn't notice any physical symptoms to dairy. So I was very resistant. I'm like, I don't need to go off dairy. I don't have any symptoms of it. Well, you guys, on my blood work showed almost like autoimmune levels of reaction to dairy. And so I've been off of it for, I don't know, 2 weeks, 10 days. I don't know. But I have had astounding results. Like astounding. The inflammation is just like so coming out of my body. It's unbelievable. I would never in a million years have given it up. So what I'm watching right now, and it's not without its heartache, because I love dairy with all of my heart and soul. So it hasn't been the easiest thing I've ever done, but I will tell you this, it has shifted something in my body that I couldn't have gotten any other way. I am lighter. I feel lighter. I feel so much less inflammation, so much less soreness when I'm working out. Yeah, I mean, I was on raw organic dairy, so it wasn't that I was drinking bad dairy. It's just that my body was having just almost like an autoimmune reaction. And so even something as simple as that has caused a dramatic shift in me in a lot of ways. I experienced the world kind of differently. And yeah, it was really sad at first, but now I'm like, oh, this is really cool. Like maybe, it was causing more symptoms than I believed. And I'm not suggesting that everybody go off dairy, but what I'm saying is that for me, it's been a huge shift that I got by doing something physical. For some of you, that needs to be exercise. I remember the first time when I started to shift myself physically by doing CrossFit. If you are having a really hard time shifting things, go the physical route. Get to it in the creation cycle through the action line. Try something different. If you want to be different, think different, feel different, do something different. So maybe you say, well, I can't do any hard workouts. What about if you walked for 30 minutes tonight? How would that shift things if you just went for a walk for 30 minutes tonight? How would you shift things if you thought this was my last evening that I could have with my family? How would that shift your emotional state? How would it shift your mental state if you decided to see everything tonight through the eyes of miracle? So I just want to show you how you can change one night in all these different ways. And then imagine what happens when you practice that day after day after day after day. Pretty soon you don't recognize who you are. You don't recognize the thoughts you're having. You don't recognize the emotional state you're in. You don't recognize the actions you're taking. Like, it's so powerful to do this. And you can become your future self using the creation cycle and using every part of it. And you can do one at a time. You can do all at a time. I love doing all at a time. I like all of the parts. I like working on the emotional part. I love working on the physical part. And you do all these kind of and stack them. Whoever said that, yes, habit stacking. You kind of do all these and stack them. And then your progress is so much faster. And then you become the person that you could become. You unlock the potential that is in you. You live more as your true self. You live with more honesty and love and joy. You live with more energy, with more vibrance in your body. And so, how can you attack this in different ways? Yeah. And so, several of you are talking about exercise and food. Yeah. It's literally that. You want to be different, think different, feel different, eat different, talk different, move different, right? Like literally do something different. You can't continue to have the same pattern of thinking, feeling, and acting and expect different results. And I think it's so powerful to use the creation cycle to do this. Now, practically, how I think you could do this is take your creation cycles over the next month, the ones that are in your planner, and start with a different the area. Start with a thought and see where that gets you. Start with a feeling and ask yourself what would I have to think, or what action would I have to take to feel that? You know how when you take certain actions, it makes you feel a certain way. You feel a certain way when you go jump on a trampoline. You feel a certain way when you get in a body of hot water. You feel a certain way when you watch something that makes you laugh. So how can the physical bring this on? How could we start with the emotions? Here's how I want to feel. How could we start with the thinking and come at it at so many different ways? Now, here's what I want you to do. I want you to think to yourself, 90 days from now, how do I want to be different? In 90 days from now. Normally, again, when we talk about future self, we talk about a year or 5 years, like we dream big. And I want you to dream big. But I also want you to know that amazing, incredible, life-changing shifts can happen in 30 days, in a day. How can tonight be different? I want you to commit to having a different evening tonight than you would normally have. Either by how you choose to think, how you choose to feel with your family, what you choose to do. Maybe you don't normally go for a walk. Maybe you go for a long walk. Maybe you don't normally throw the football outside with your kids, but you do. And let that be the catalyst for, if I want change 90 days from now, what can I change every day? What thought can I change every day? What feeling can I change? What action can I change to get me to that future self that has so much mental and emotional resilience, that has so much capacity to experience all of life, that is less triggered, that is less frustrated, that is less anxious, that is less stressful? Like, how can I become that version of me in 90 days? Like, it can happen so fast, y'all. So will you commit yourself to doing that? Will you commit yourself to taking actions that lead to that, to feeling and generating emotions that lead to that, to really managing your mind and taking your thoughts captive so that it leads to that? And as you do it, and as you find ways to do it, we can share these in the Facebook group. As you find ways to enter the creation cycle from the emotional side, as you find ways to just take actions that get you to maybe a different emotional state or a different way of thinking, I want you to see the power of the whole cycle. A lot of times, because I'm such a mindset person, I think a lot of times I do put so much emphasis on the mindset piece, on the thoughts and the beliefs, and they're powerful because those thoughts will show up in your life, physically in your life. So they're powerful. But I want you to take this month and really come at it from all angles and share what's working, share what you're doing. We've been going for sunset walks. So we've been taking a walk in the evening, and it's been so much fun, you guys, because the bats are out. I don't know if anybody else has been walking at sunset, but Oh my gosh, we've had so much fun. Like, I know that doesn't sound fun, but just watching the bats, you know, up in the trees, like flying all around. It's so crazy. There's so many. I know we do too, Carrie. There's so many bats here. But just taking a walk at sunset was a kind of a different thing. Like, I would normally like to just sit and watch the sunset, but taking a walk at sunset, so cool. I've been walking earlier in the mornings, so different, like changes things up. Like, how can you change things up for yourself so that you can change? Change begets change. So stop doing the same thing every day, same thoughts, same feeling pattern. If you want to see change, you have to be the change. And it's so fun to do this because as you see it happen, it's so motivating that it just makes you want to keep doing. Well, let me see what I can do when I try this. Well, let me see what happens when I try this. So, so fun. All right, you guys, here's to future self 90 days from now, 30 days from now. How can we become more of who God made us? How can we live in to more of ourselves? How can we be more loving, more wise, more nurturing, more joyful, more of ourselves than we've ever been by change? So fun to think about. All right. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Make this evening different. Maybe Lisa will put a post in the Facebook group. That would be a great idea. How did you make this evening different? Let this be the jumping point that you take with you all month to create what you really want to create. And we will see you on Thursday for live coaching. Love you so much. So glad you're here. Can't wait to see what you create for yourself. Bye now.